Today marks 5 years since Hurricane Maria made landfall in Puerto Rico. The Category 4 storm killed nearly 3,000 people. It wreaked havoc on the island's power grid. And all of these years later, there are thousands of homes that are still covered in tarp 5 years later. And now they are dealing with another devastating storm this week. Hurricane Fiona knocked about 90% of Puerto Ricans off the grid again. Most have no water this morning. There are 1,300 people that remain stuck in shelters across the U.S. territory. Fiona strengthened to a Category 3 storm just a few hours ago, and right now the storm is unleashing its fury on the islands of Turks and Caicos. It is expected to strengthen into a Category 4 storm as it heads towards Bermuda later on this week. President Biden already approved an emergency declaration. But what is our obligation as a country to help this U.S. territory? Retired Army Lieutenant General Russel Honore joining us live. He led the Hurricane Katrina recovery efforts so many years ago. I think we're approaching 17 or so years. General, it is wonderful to see you this morning. I wish it were under different circumstances as we watch the situation in Puerto Rico and now Turks and Caicos. We don't even know the extent of the damage yet until they're able to get in. But the National Guard, we do know, is on the ground. 900 people have been rescued from floodwaters so far. Assess the situation as you understand it at this point.
Yeah, they're in the search and rescue and damage assessment mode right now. And the National Guard has done a great job. They will get more help from what we call emergency agreements with other states. They may send helicopters as well as debris removal to help the Puerto Rican National Guard open roads. But that help is on the way. FEMA is already there. The president did sign a pre-storm declaration that opened the entire federal government to do what they need to do. The bad news, water. That could turn into a big problem in the coming days if the electricity doesn't come up and the water plants don't come on. The governor think he can get the power grid back up in days as opposed to weeks and months after Maria. The good news is the airport's open and the port's open. So things should be flowing in there right behind the search and rescue and damage assessment. But this is going to be a big issue because the flooding way exceed what we probably saw in Hurricane Maria. Maria did a lot of wind damage, but the homes that are underwater and the businesses will have a significant impact on the people of Puerto Rico. And water is going to be, how do we get water to people that need it? And they're going to need a lot of helicopters to get to the remote areas and road clearing to be able to move that water. Good news is, again, FEMA have warehouses on Puerto Rico now as opposed to what we had prior to Maria.
Yeah, well, you want to be optimistic, but it is hard to believe that 5 years since Maria struck that island U.S. territory, there are thousands of homes, as I mentioned a moment ago, that still have tarps on the roof. I think a lot of us wonder, like, how that can be happening.
Yeah, well, we went through almost a 2-year delay, the last 2 years of the last administration, where the money was held up. That's the fact. That's the truth. And with the new administration, the Biden administration, they opened that money up. But we're on a third governor in Puerto Rico since Maria. And the first two lost their jobs because of the hurricane response. The current governor is on track to try and get things straight. And we're going to need the entire federal government to lean in and give Puerto Rico what it needs. Don't ask for it and wait for Puerto Rico to ask for it. Is to send in the assets that's needed to do it through a big team from the Corps engineers because they have some linkage to that power grid because they were tasked to supervise the rebuilding of the power grid. And then a joint decision was made between the U.S. government and Washington and Puerto Rico to turn the power grid in from a locally proper-ran organization into a commercial industry. And that power grid is still tentative at best, as we saw much of that capacity went down in the winds from Fiona. So it's a big challenge, but the people are there. We've got to have a need for speed from the people in Washington. And even if they have to send some federal troops in there to help with special capacity, they need to do that because the ships need to be flowing in with water now and helicopters to distribute it. We need not wait until the damage assessment is done to float things into Puerto Rico. All hands on deck, because without water, people will start dying. And as you remember, in Maria, a lot of people died after the storm because we couldn't get to them, or they didn't have water, or they didn't have electricity to stay alive. So I think they reported 3 deaths, but that number could go up if we don't do the search and rescue and get water in there.
Yeah, right now we're 3,000 deaths from Maria, 3 deaths. Let's hope that's the end of it. How much of an undertaking logistically is it to mobilize this many people to get support there as quickly as possible? As you say, time is of the essence.
Absolutely. The good news is the people on the ground, Puerto Ricans will be looking out for each other. And they've been through this, they've seen this, heard this song played before. So until the government get there, locally, community leaders and local governments are going to do their best, but they've got about a 24 to 36-hour capability to take care of themselves. That's when the helicopters need to be on the horizon right now, leaving the coast of the United States, flying into Puerto Rico. They need not wait. Or if there's a Navy ship in the area, to deploy it there to bring in fuel, to make sure we can get fuel to the helicopters once they arrive. But the federal government need to move. They have a tendency to want to wait for the governor to ask for something. We know how to do this. We need to be more proactive and be quicker, because people will start felt health effects if we can't distribute the water on the ground in the isolated areas. And that's where a lot of people died the last time. So we've got this lesson learned. We have to have a need for speed from the federal government.
While I've got you, I want to talk about Jackson, Mississippi. There is a new lawsuit filed on behalf of the residents of Jackson against the city amid the water crisis that we've seen over the last month there. I know you have looked closely at the situation. There have been repairs that have been made. Is that a permanent fix in your assessment at this point with what we're seeing to reassure these people that their drinking water is safe and will continue to be?
Yeah, I spent the day in Jackson yesterday, had a meeting with the mayor's staff and the federal coordinating officer from FEMA and the lead from the EPA. They're on track to fix it. But fixing it is kind of like plugging a tire when the air comes out. There's a lot need to be replaced in that water system. The city, FEMA, and the state issued a caution to people. The water pressure's up, but women and pregnant women and children should not drink it. That caution is causing most of the people in Jackson still not to drink the water. It's perfectly usable for flushing and for doing things like washing, but it's not really have any confidence that it's safe to drink. And there's still a little discoloration in the water in Jackson. But everybody, all hands on deck, the state, the federal, and the city are working together. But we've got to go from fix it to repair and replace that water system. And then the Corps engineer need to figure out how they're going to prevent the impact of the Pearl River from having flooding impacts on the Curtis water system. So much work less have to be done. And they'll see more legal actions, because this song kind of sounds like Flint in a way. It's different, but the government, who's in charge, who's doing the water testing, who's passing that information to the public to ensure that not only bacteria is under control, but elements and minerals that's in that water that could have negative impact on people, to include copper and lead that could be in the water. And that testing is not refined yet to a point to give people full confidence. So much work less have yet to be done, but the federal government has provided the money, they provided the experts, and the city and the state are working together. It's just a long impact of deferred maintenance and underfunding of the water plant that has caused this. And much of this happened before this mayor and this governor were in office. So we got to fix it. And the federal government on the ground need to provide the leadership and get the best practices and the best science and the best equipment in there, because we should not have a major city in America that we can't get clean water to.
You couldn't be more right. It is frustrating, and it is frankly unacceptable that any city is dealing with these water issues and lack of confidence in the drinking water that they have. You bring up a lot of important questions. General, we'll certainly have you back. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to talk to you this morning.
God bless America. God bless our friends down in Puerto Rico. Help is on the way.
Likewise, and thank you for your service.